Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a build that was inspired by Deligracy's tiny eco farm home. I'll link that in the description below. For this, I really like the idea of the small pool that she put in, as well as the similar layout that I'm going to be using, but kind of changing it to make it a little bit different. I also really liked the use of the porches that she did, and I don't really use that in my builds per se, so I thought it was a little bit of a challenge for me, just kind of using it in a different way other than just placing the porches and just having it as an aesthetic feature and making it a little bit more of a functional feature. I also did a second floor onto it, and in Deli's build she kind of used it as a sleeping area, and I did this as something similar, but she used mods and I am not going to use them. So right now my idea was going to be a little bit more of a modern take on hers. She used kind of like a modern eco farm, and mine's just gonna go full modern with a little bit of a rustic feature. I think I didn't really use the rusticness, but I didn't really want to go full modern either. So I kind of wanted to keep things a little simple, a little boxy in a way, and I don't know, I think it kind of worked out in the end. For the two rooms off to the side, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with them, but I knew I needed to put in at least a bathroom in there, so I ended up using the bigger one for the bathroom. It worked out. I enjoyed working on the bathroom, even though it turned out a little bit scarce in what I put in. So right now I'm doing the kitchen just because I wanted to make that the center feature of it, and it kind of helped orient where everything else was going to go. I wanted to make this a little bit of a bigger feature. I like smaller kitchens because other than the stove, the fridge, and a countertop and a sink, that's all you really need. And I kind of wanted a little bit more counter space, and I really liked the bar feature instead of having just a table. And I also kind of liked making it a little bit different from the rest of the house, so I put in a lot more woods in it and kind of played on the colors a little bit more. You'll see later that I like to use a lot of the whites. I basically just put in white walls the entirety of the house. So breaking it up with a little bit of the wood kind of helped it look a little bit more rustic, I think, but in the modern way. I also realized that it is way too dark in the house, so putting in lights helped a lot. And you can see again that I'm using a lot of white walls. I realized I didn't want to, but the white just ended up being my default. Now for this, I also really wanted to put in a big window because I knew in the back that's where the pool was going to go. I ended up using it as the bathroom, which was slightly unfortunate, but I think it kind of worked out in a weird way. I ended up really liking the bathroom. And for this one, I still wasn't sure what I wanted to use for this room. I kind of wanted to make it into a laundry room, but it didn't work out. So I like putting in the wallpapers and some features of the different rooms just so I know what I'm doing later on when I'm finishing the room. But sometimes I just move on and forget that's what I was doing in the first place. My process is a little bit more all over the place than other people's. I get bored easily with some rooms, and then I come back to it and I get excited again, which I think is different than other people's, and maybe not. So I'm putting in a lot more features of the kitchen again. didn't really know what I wanted to do with the rest of the cabinets, so I kind of just left it open, and I think that was a good choice. And here I ended up being a little bit more into the interior design aspect of the build, completely forgetting that I had to renovate the rest of the house. So I just kept on with the kitchen, and I realized that there was an empty space under the stairs. That was an interesting challenge because I wanted to do something with that area, but it's such a tiny area and I just didn't really know what to do. So I ended up putting it in a kind of like a drink cart, which I think was kind of cute. It was a cute idea. So I also wanted to put in the family/living room, because I had no idea what I wanted to do with it, and I thought that was going to be one of the more challenging areas of the house, and it turned out not to be, surprisingly enough, even though I ended up struggling with it for quite a few minutes. I wanted to bring in a lot more of the woods, but I also kind of realized that was a lot of wood, but I kept on with it because I really liked the nice pine that they had, even though in my opinion I do kind of wish that they had more colors and just more options when it comes to TV stands and couches, because they kind of tend to go towards either a more modern or a more rustic look, and sometimes you just want a mix of the two. So I think they need to add in a little bit more of that. I'm still struggling with the couch. I wanted to use something that I don't normally do in my builds, but I ended up using one that I have used many times before. And I do really like those shag rugs, and I tend to use them in a lot of different places in my builds. And I think I end up using 2 in this build, if I am correct. But I think it kind of works with the house, and it makes it a little bit more warm in it. And I also really wanted to put in a lot of color, at least accents, but I couldn't settle on a color that I really liked. I struggled with the reds and the blues, and I ended up doing both, which they worked out because they're in different parts of the house. But I kind of wish that I went back and did a little bit more of a uniform color scheme, even though I kind of ended up really liking the house. Now this is where I realized that the walls were not on my side that day. They kept disappearing every single time I tried to put in a floor. So I just kind of ended up giving up and letting it do what it wanted to do, because I realized there's no use in fighting with games, because they don't care. They will do what they want. So just fixed it up, made sure that everything worked out well, and put in a new ceiling, and there you go. I realized that I ended up cutting out a lot of the floor, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do with that little wall piece, but I think adding the second wall really helped, and it now looks a little bit taller, which I kind of like. So in the second floor, I put in more reds to tie in with the red in the painting, and I just kept it very simple. You don't really need much. I didn't want this to be the feature of the house, so I just kept it simple, putting in the basic needs, but I also kind of ended up putting in a sitting area, which I like to do in a lot of my builds. So the basic woods are also really my favorite. I like to put in a lot of woods and kind of play around with the different shades, but I really think that the pine is my favorite of them all in my builds, just because they're universal in a lot of ways if you know how to play around with it and go bold when it comes to that, because they're neutral, so you can really just go crazy with the colors when you want to, really. So I really like this mirror. I think it's a lot of fun. I wish that there was a bigger one. I know that there's another one in a different pack, but I don't think I have that pack. I really need to get that one. But I really like that mirror. I think it's from Parenthood, if I'm not sure, really, but I really like using it in a lot of different ways. And I really like the paintings in the Get Famous expansion. I think they did a really good job, and all the different colors kind of just mesh well, and you get a lot of options in this one, and I really think that they should keep going with that, because I really like the paintings that they have, but in the older packs they just didn't have as many. And I'm also struggling with windows, which is a big problem for me. I never know where to put windows, and I find that they end up in not nice places when you look at the house from the outside. But I think I did okay this time putting in the windows. Not too many, but enough that there's light and the house doesn't look awful, which I also like. So now I'm going back to the first floor and trying to really establish what I want to do with the two random side rooms. And I did want to use this as the bathroom, even though I really wanted to also have the pool as kind of a feature of another room, but I think it worked out pretty well. I really like using those big mirrors just to make things look taller than they are, and lots of light. You need lots of light in your bathrooms, no matter what. I hate going into bathrooms. They're just so dark and you can't see, and I don't know, it wigs me out. So there's a lot of empty space in the bathroom, and I've never been one to be inspired by bathrooms, but I knew I should put some things in there. So I ended up just putting in a bunch of like the cluttered stuff, and I did end up putting in kind of a clothes basket just to fill up the space a little bit more. And I really like to use this bench. I thought that was a really cute idea, just to kind of make it a little bit more homey, but a little bit more spa-like, which I also like in builds. I really liked using the Spa Day stuff. I think they did a really awesome job on that one as well. And I really like using the marbly floors. I have a thing for marble, so whenever I can, I will put in marble wherever. Tastefully, hopefully. So for this one, I still had no idea what I wanted to do with this room, but I ended up thinking that maybe the person living in this house would be someone who's a little bit more fashionable or wanting to go into that fashion career. So I ended up putting in an office with that fashion board. I really like using that in my builds. I haven't done the fashion career yet, Hopefully I get to play around with that in a little bit. And now I really wanted to tie in the reds, but I really liked using that blue. I think it's a really rich, deep enough blue, but also very cute, where you can kind of make the room lighter. And there I go, using the mirror again. I don't know, I just have such a thing for that mirror. And just adding in a few extra things to make it like cluttered, like, you know, when you're doing so much, but also not have all the essentials there. And I also put in another sitting area, because you gotta have places to sit. I love chairs. I love sitting in the chairs, and I have a thing for making reading nooks and comfortable areas where your Sims can just relax. And I realized that I put in a lot of windows, but that's probably not what the Sim wants sometimes, so I just kind of wanted to cover those up. And I rarely use curtains unless I think they add to the overall look of the house. I want to say that is something that I like doing, but it's just really because I forget is what it is. So here I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the porch. I'm having a hell of a time trying to figure out what I want to do, because it was supposed to be a very integral part of the entire build, and where you go, because it's such a small lot that I didn't really feel you needed to have an area to hang out in other than the porch. The porch was going to be like the center feature, like, oh, I can go here in the summer and hang out and relax, and it's going to be great. So I really wanted to make it look nice, and I think it worked out. I really like using the fences as kind of a trellis, and I did that through the entire porch, and it looked really cute. I want to say that it helps with the shade. It probably does nothing of the sort. But I think it looks cute and kind of gives it a little bit more of a beachy, outdoorsy vibe, which is a little bit different from the rest of the house, but still within the realm of the style. And I also wanted to give the house a little bit more of a dimension with the ceiling and the roof, because you don't really want flat walls all the time. It ends up looking a little weird. And I wanted to make it a small pool, more like a wading pool than anything, but you can't really use fountains as little wading pools, so it's just a small tiny pool. I also wanted to see if I could do something different with the roof. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Oh, and there's a little garden which I really wanted to put in. I thought it was a really cute idea. But I did watch a tutorial on roofs and how to kind of make them a little bit more interesting. I can link that in the description. It's just from the Sim Supply. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, and if you're haven't, it's a really good kind of refresher on how to make roofs work for your house. And he added in a bunch of stuff that I didn't even know about. and I've used this since the beginning, 2014, and some of those things I didn't even know about. So, kind of like what happened with the walls, it was kind of happening with the roof as well. Things were just disappearing and just not working out for me, which is fine. You just gotta move through it. It's still frustrating, but what can you do? It's a game. So I just want to add in a little bit more to the porch, like lighting. Need lights, or else you won't be able to see who's coming in or out. And that's where I realized that you need more curtains, because it's creepy when you can see into other people's homes. So I didn't really know what to do in the front, but in the back I kind of had that you need sitting, you need comfort, but I also kind of wanted to put it in the front. I think where I placed everything worked out, and it's a little bit more of a flow. Also adding in more of the string lights. I really wanted the string lights to glow. They have that little shine around them, but they don't give actual light when you're in the dark. I think if it had a little bit more atmosphere instead of an aesthetic feel, I would be using string lights a little bit more, because when I had them in my room, they had that nice glow to them, and I think having that nice atmospheric glow really, it made you want to use the lights. You had that little bit of light, but not too much where it's just like shining everywhere. And I think having that for the outside really makes it more comfortable, and it makes you a little bit more relaxed. I know that they had string lights in for I think it was City Living, and I kind of wanted to incorporate them because I know that they do work, but you need them in such specific areas, or you need to have that as like, this is what I want. So they kind of end up not really working out in a lot of builds, I find, because they only add in that one side of string lights, and you can't really customize them, unless I'm wrong, unless I've completely missed that post for the other side. But I think in Seasons they had one like that, but that's also a very specific thing, and sometimes you don't want to use that Seasons one. So here I realized I wanted to put in a skylight. I thought that bringing in that kind of light will also open up the room a little bit more, and I want to start using skylights a little bit more in my builds. So I kind of wanted to play around with it, and I think it worked out really well. I really like how it turned out. Also, I'm moving towards an actual PC instead of using my laptop, so I really wanted to maximize the use of the lighting engine that they have in there instead of the boxiness of the laptop mode. I really hate the lighting in the laptop one, and when I realized what I was missing, I needed to play it on a PC, and ever since I started using it, I never want to go back. Maybe when I'm lazy, but until then, it's just this new lighting engine. It's my love. So now I kind of wanted to just put in a little bit more clutter, add in a few things just to make it more personalized. I really like cluttering up kitchens. I find it a lot of fun, and I know I said that I put in small kitchens, and I think the whole putting in more clutter adds to that tininess and claustrophobia. I don't know. I find tiny kitchens with a lot of stuff a lot of fun to build. And here I'm not too sure what I wanted to do with the beginning portion, like the entranceway. I found it a little dull, but I think just adding in a few things really brightened it up. And this giant wall, I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. I was going through options. I really wanted to put in a bar. I kind of liked the idea of putting in a lot of the wardrobes. I thought it was a cute idea, but it kind of detracted from everything that I was doing and making it big and open. So I went away from that idea. I don't know. I wasn't too fond of it. So I went back to the bar idea, and I think what I came up with was a little bit better. A little bit of the openness, but also kind of closed it off just a little bit. I think it worked out quite well, and I don't know. I find this idea of the bar with just a lot of area, like a lot of cabinets just to put things in, like all your juices and stuff. I really like it. And also, when it comes to tiny builds, you need cabinet space, really, is what it is. So I kind of liked the idea of having some juices open, just so it brings in that kind of cutesy atmosphere of having like a home bar. I think it worked out quite well. And again with the string lights, just to try and see if I could do it, but I ended up being a little bit too cluttered, so I took it away. And I really liked using the dino set of the little name. I thought that was a really cute idea as well. And here I'm just kind of landscaping some stuff so I can make the entire thing work and not have like just a house plopped down. I know that was kind of an abrupt cut, but I just kind of wanted to move on to the landscaping a little bit, just so it was in there. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do with it, but I knew I wanted to put in some trees to make it kind of flow, make it kind of look like it belongs there. And I don't really landscape in my builds. I always forget to, so here it was established that I ended up putting in some landscaping, and I kind of want to try and do that a little bit more in my builds. I think it turned out it turned out well. I can already see some of the stuff that I wanted to change, but it's in the past. I think I know for next time what I wanted to do. Yeah. So I think that they should probably put in more trees. I find they have such specific looks and there's so many trees out there. I really want them to put in more trees so I can have a need to landscape. Oh, and here I finally realized that it looks a little bland and that we need more in the front instead of in the back, because when you're looking from the outside, when you're going for a walk, you see the front of the house instead of the back of the house, and you want the front to look nice. So I'm just putting in a bunch of plants just to kind of mimic the little garden that we have off to the side. I really liked it. I really like how it turned out. And here's some pictures of the house. I think it worked out. A lot of the darks and the lights and everything in between. Alright. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.